so you mentioned something earlier. How do you get happier employees?
Yeah, so there's a method called the job characteristics model, or actually a framework where it breaks down 5 different elements that will help generate a happy employee. So that's skill variety. You have task identity, and then task significance. And then there's 2 more that I'll get to in a second. But the skill variety, so to kind of put it in a reverse example, the lack of skill variety is somebody working on a assembly line. So let's say that you have to can jars. So you get the jar, you put the lid on it, you pass it down. You get the jar, you put the lid on it, and you pass it down. So obviously that's not a lot of skill variety. And then task identity is the ability to see the job to completion. So kind of another reverse example on an assembly line, but using a car, is the way that they do it now is you have one specific task. Like, let's say I'm going to put on the left door, and then I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to pass it along to the next person that's going to put on the right back door. So they don't necessarily get to see the completion of the job. So that's a reverse example. And then the task significance is the degree to which the job has an impact on the lives around them, which I think is one of the most important. Because if you hear about people being unsatisfied with their position, a lot of time it comes from not having that meaningfulness related to what they're doing. So those are the 3 things that really factor into that. And then the last 2 is autonomy, which is obviously the employee's decision on how they perform the work. So giving them a task and then allowing them to achieve it however which way, but as long as they achieve it, right? And then the last one is, I think, something that managers specifically forget to do, which is feedback, and more specifically, feedback in real time. So for example, if you perform a task and it was this big project and then it does really well, but then you don't receive any feedback, in your mind, you're kind of thinking, well, was it a good thing or was it a bad thing? You don't really necessarily know. Or if you made a mistake at a position, the manager should be able to provide you with some feedback to let you know where you stand, right? So those are kind of the 5 characteristics that formulate different things as far as a job characteristic. And then there's some moderating factors that are involved in there. So to really enhance the employee satisfaction, it comes from knowledge and skill, growth, need, strength, and then the context satisfaction. So to kind of break those down is knowledge and skill. You provide the correct knowledge for a positive outcome. So a lot of time that's proper training. And a lot of companies, what they'll do is they'll provide kind of a streamlined training, which is fine. But to take it a step further, training is ongoing, right? And I think that's where a lot of companies miss out on. They'll train for like that first month of what a lot of people call like boot camp. And then from there, it's kind of off to the races. But to really help out, you can have mentors that kind of guide people through there. But you want to make sure that it's proper training for that specific position, right? And then the growth, need, strength, that's the requirements of the job. Or the requirements of the job to match what the employee's needs are. So if it doesn't match the employee's experience or the needs, then the employee's experience will be a negative outcome, right? If it does match it, then it will increase that satisfaction. And then the last thing was the context satisfaction. So to what degree is the employee satisfied with the context of the job? And I think one of the ways to look at this is whenever you think about starting a new position, you're excited, you like it, you know all these things that are potentially going to happen, and you can take those on positively. But then over time, like kind of going back to the skill variety, is if it just becomes repetitive, then you're like, well, this is just boring now. So now I'm not satisfied with the context of the job. So I know that was a long answer, but it's a key detail of like moderating factors that go into the 5 elements that create a satisfied employee.